Hey guys, how's it going? Hopefully you can hear this because I'm not even going to use a microphone for this. I mean an external mic, but I'm just talking into the phone. But I just had this on my mind. I was just thinking about it. I've talked about the Assembly of God that I used to go to and some of the things that are wrong with it. I want to say some of the other things, and I could go on forever. And anyways, though, one thing I remember is one of my friends who I used to be really good friends with. I don't believe that he's saved, but anyways, basically, his father was an alcoholic, and his mother divorced his father, and he had a brother and a couple of sisters, and his mother was with a couple other guys. And anyways, his mother went to church, and I guess he told me that his father died. He never really saw his father much at all because his mother didn't want him to be around him. And I guess his father died at somewhat of a young age when my friend was a young age. I don't know how old he was exactly, but anyways, he told me that his mother didn't want to tell him that his father died, so she went to the preacher at the Assembly of God and had the preacher tell him. And I guess that really hurt him. That's what he told me. I'm getting the feeling that kind of hurt him. I mean, he told me that it did, but, that kind of ticked me off. Of course, that's on his mother, also. What his mother did was wrong, and she was being a coward. But the preacher was being a coward, too, and the preacher is supposed to be the one to stand up. And I know that everybody's not perfect. Maybe he didn't know what to do in that situation, but, that's pretty wrong. To me, apparently it was wrong to my friend. He should have heard it from his mom, and the preacher should have corrected her and said, no, that's your job. You're going to have to do this. And, yeah, that was bad. So, there was that, and also another thing, after I left the church and stuff, I guess I had some family that was still going there, and I guess they had their own issues with them. And I guess I heard that after I stopped going, after a while, he had his homosexual son that was there, and his homosexual son was singing on the stage doing worship songs, I guess. And the whole church knew that his son was a homosexual. You can basically look at him and tell that he's a homosexual, but, and he'd bring in, his guy friend or whatever. But everybody knew, it's a small town, small church. And so, it's like, what does this guy stand for, It's bad enough that his son was there, you can kind of understand maybe, it's his own son, and maybe he's, I don't know. Probably shouldn't have really had him there at all, but definitely not on stage singing worship songs, So a lot of people were offended by that, but apparently not enough. Everybody still goes there. So, and I think there was maybe some other things, but that might be all I can think of right now. But that just adds on to some of the things that was wrong there. And so what are your thoughts on that? Should a church building be having a known homosexual on the, an active homosexual on the stage singing worship? And should the preacher have told the mother that it was her job to tell her son that his father is dead? Or do you think that what he did was right? And there was another thing too that kind of bothered me when I was going to drug classes after my DUI, and somebody knew him, and this lady said that he married her 16-year-old daughter or something, because her 16-year-old daughter had a kid with somebody. And that's questionable, because I know that Mary was young, and there's different laws in different states about ages and things like that, so maybe that's not necessarily wrong. But when I first heard it, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way, I don't know. That kind of made me think a little bit differently about him too. Oh, and another thing that kind of made me feel differently about him was there was a woman there there was a girl there who had epilepsy, like my mom. Her epilepsy was kind of different, and she was maybe a little bit more affected by it mentally. But she, I prayed for her a lot. I prayed that God would heal her epilepsy, and, I prayed for my mother too. And, sometimes I think, you need to pray big, but I pray for lots of different things. But I felt like, I don't know, I felt like he didn't really have any faith that anything like that was even possible. And it's like, where's your faith, man? And you're supposed to be like a charismatic Pentecostal and stuff. You guys are all about the healing and all that, right? And I don't know. There was something that he said that was like, well, you can pray for it, but don't expect anything or something. And I was like, what? you know, yeah, I don't know. Just things like that. So, anyways, I just thought I'd throw that out there while it's on my mind. And I just need to write all this stuff down, my whole church experience, but I'll be putting little out there and little out there. But maybe I'll make like a final, hour-long video or something and go into everything that I can think of. But those are some of the extra things. So lots of people have had problems with this church in particular. It's like, where do you stand? What really concerns you? And I got a feeling that this preacher and a lot of preachers are just concerned with building their kingdom, where they're the rulers and they're the heroes, and everybody comes to them, and they just want to get more and more people for their building. It's not really about leading people to the Lord as much as it is getting them in to the building, into the system. But anyways, those things concerned me a lot, and some of it was while I was there, some of it was after, but it just added on to how I felt towards the preacher. There was another thing too, where there was like some teaching, a Bible teaching, where he was, of course I'm studying a lot and I'm kind of paying attention to every little detail, and just little things can set me off, but he said something about like we don't need to defend the Bible, it defends itself or something. And there's like some truth to that, but he made me feel like, I talked to him about it, and I was like, well, what about apologetics and stuff? Like, is there a need for that? And he kind of like choked up, and he's like, oh, well, yeah, but, it's like, well, I think that we do need to be defenders of the faith. I mean, isn't that what it says? Is it in the book of James? The Bible pretty much clearly states that. I was like, what about this verse? You seem to be like in contradiction of this. But, so I'll just end this here. But what do you guys think about that? God bless.